Hello, everybody. I'm Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm. So thrilled to be able to host another edition. And it's about real conversations, really, that dive into, how we can move this country closer and closer to our clean energy future and all of its perks, lower energy costs and cleaner air and water, healthier kids, and of course, job opportunities in addition to energy independence as we think about what we are seeing globally. So our plan here is to feature lots of leaders from all over America, and we are certainly doing that today because we're starting small with small business, which we very much need to move this energy transition forward. And speaking of needing, I'm actually really delighted to talk to breweries and bakeries, essentially, with these two new awesome guests. Nels Leader, who is the CEO of Bread Alone, which is a bakery in New York, and Dan, it's Kleban, right?
You got it.
Kleban, who's co-founder of Maine Beer Company. And so Dan and Nels are doing sweet and happy things to make their businesses more energy efficient and to empower up others to do the same thing. So you guys, I'm so glad to have you here. I'm eager to learn more about really how clean energy can help your businesses. But first, let's actually introduce you a little bit. Let's get the audience to know a little bit more about how you are. So I'll just start with Dan and then Nels. Can you give us like your elevator pitch, your 30-second rundown of who you are?
Sure. My name is Dan Kleban, co-founder of Maine Beer Company up here in Freeport, Maine. My brother and I started Maine Beer Company in 2009, right at the height of the financial collapse, and it was seeing that up close and personal that I think impressed upon us a need for us to change how businesses, large and small, operate in this country. We saw too many people get hurt through no fault of their own. And so we set out to create a business, a brewery, and a business model that was to show folks that you could do well by the planet and do well by your employees and also do well by the bottom line. They weren't mutually exclusive ideas. They were mutually reinforcing ideals. And so hopefully 13 years later, and with all the success we've had, we've shown that you can operate a business that way.
Love it. Everybody loves beer. I don't know, I'm assuming lots of people love beer and they love the notion of homegrown beer and breweries, especially microbreweries. I mean, do you consider yourself a microbrewery at this point, given how much you're brewing?
We still are much smaller than the corporate giants out there. We're certainly a microbrewery still, but a decent size at this point.
There you go. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. Nels, how about you? What's your elevator pitch on who you are?
Sure. So again, thank you for having me, Secretary Granholm. My name is Nels Leader. I'm CEO of Bread Alone Bakery. Unlike Dan, I'm not the founder of Bread Alone. My father is the founder of the bakery. So we're a family business. He founded the company in 1983. And Bread Alone was one of the organic pioneers that brought to market an organic product in the late 80s as that movement was taking hold. I joined the business full-time about 10 years ago after a more traditional career in consulting and finance. And a big part of my work with the business has been using our commitment to sustainability to create competitive advantage in the marketplace. So like Dan was saying, I fundamentally believe that our commitment to the natural world is what helps us win customers in the marketplace. And I don't find those interests mutually exclusive.
Love it. Love it. I mean, can I just ask you though? I mean, you unlike Dan, right? You, as you noted, you come because your father started this brewery. Was it always anticipated that you were going to take over the business, or were you really moving in a different direction? And if so, what caused you to come back?
Yeah, it was certainly not a foregone conclusion. My career was going in a very different direction. And I came back when Bread Alone was at a bit of a crossroads. It had filled out all the capacity in its original location, and the business had to decide whether or not to expand and take a step forward, or really to rethink what it was going to be and exist in that smaller footprint. So I came back to help the business expand into the future.
And Dan, then, so back to you. Do you have kids? Do you expect that your kids are going to take over?
I have twins who just turned their birthdays on Earth Day, so they turned 11 years old. Just a
All
few
right,
days.
never too soon to start in the microbrewery business.
That's right. Look, I'm sure like Nels's parents experienced, succession planning is it's something that always is lurking in the back of your head. I would love it if they did. It's a little too early to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
But they certainly are well acquainted with the brewery. They love. I mean, even from when we first started it, when they were first born, I should say, I would bring them in their little carriers to work. When my wife, she's a nurse, she'd have to go to work, so we'd hand the kids off, passing in the dark, and I'd set them on the brewery floor where I was in there brewing and cleaning the tank. So it's certainly in their DNA, whether it's.
I love it. Small business. I mean, obviously, Nels, it's in your. I don't know if you have kids, and whether you're thinking about that or family members that as you think about what's next for your succession planning.
Yeah, I do. I have a son. He's even younger. He's 3. So
oh my gosh.
we got a few years to go. And Dan, I wanted to note that I don't know if Maine is like New York, but in New York, at age 12, you can start working for a family business. So I know that's when I started doing my work with Bread Alone.
Love it. Okay, so Nels, I understand, if I got my information correct, that Bread Alone just completed this $4 million net zero bakery facility. So tell us, what is a net zero bakery, and a little bit more about why you decided to go in that direction.
Absolutely. So just to provide some context for where this facility fits into our business footprint, the location I mentioned a moment ago that we outgrew a number of years ago, that's the location that we just renovated into our new net zero facility. So we have a primary manufacturing location that's about 30,000 square feet. That's powered in part with about 200 kilowatts of solar power on our roof. And it was really that project that gave us some of the knowledge to take on this net zero project, which we just completed a few months ago. And to answer your specific question, net zero, that's the standard that society writ large, we all have to achieve, meaning that we're emitting no more carbon from the atmosphere than we're removing through our actions. And that's what we've put into practice in our little footprint at our new facility.
Do you think that your customers, I mean, do they know that you are doing this? Are you advertising it as part of your gestalt, that you are baking bread, and maybe more than bread? Because it is bread alone. Is it more than bread?
It is. It's more than bread. The name is a little bit deceiving at this point. We make breads and pastries, and also we serve foods to customers that come to our cafe. And we absolutely lead with that message. And you really can't come to the facility without taking it in, because we have a large ground mount solar array that's right behind the building. So it's really...
It's out there. You advertise it. It's part of who you are. People like the fact that you're organic and all that. Has it been helpful to your bottom line?
When we did our 200 kilowatt solar array at our main manufacturing location, I found that when I was in the room with buyers for major grocery chains, they responded so positively to that work that we were doing and wanted to carry our bread as a result. So it was in part that experience that gave us the confidence to then do our net zero renovation project. And the message, the reception so far from the community has been overwhelmingly positive.
Okay, so the reception from the community has been overwhelmingly positive. And obviously you're doing the right thing. But in the end, has it helped the bottom line, or has it been a challenge?
It's unambiguously helped in my mind. What I say to the team a lot is we're running a bit of a natural experiment. The thesis is that we can do well for our people and for the earth and for our bottom line. And I'd say we're now a decade into really committing to this natural experiment, and the business continues to grow and become more profitable.
All right. Well, that's good. Dan, how about you? Tell us what you're doing at Maine Beer Company that, that leads to this clean energy future, because that's why you're on. So obviously you've done something, and then how that has impacted your business plan.
Sure. It really, for us, it started even before we started. Like I said at the beginning, this philosophy was baked into our business plan. We were committed from the outset to creating a sustainable business. And so at the beginning, like any small business, that means doing little things. We started as a small brother and brother operation, but we did as much as we could when we could do it. But when our brewery started to, finally generate some revenue, we started installing solar on our facility, in our original brewery. If you're ever up here in Freeport, you can't miss a roof. It's a barn, and it's plastered with solar panels.
Love it.
We have 2 big solar trackers out front. We put as many solar panels as we possibly could. and frankly with help from the USDA REAP, a Rural Economic Grant, allowed us to almost double the size of that installation. And that was about 7 years ago. We built a new brewery about 3 years ago, and we designed it specifically to house a huge solar farm on top on the roof. And so that is now completely full of solar panels. Wow. And as anyone who's walked through a brewery knows, we are an energy-intensive manufacturing process. There's a lot of big pumps going, big boilers to operate. But we see it as our responsibility to offset as much of that energy as we can. And with solar in particular, it requires space, and we only own so much space. And so what we've done is, because we've put as many solar panels as we possibly can on our campus, we've started granting money to nonprofit partners to install solar panels on their campus, because in the grand scheme of things, who cares where the solar is actually located, as long as it's generating renewable energy for folks. And so we're partnering with local nonprofits to reach 100% solar offset.
That is awesome. I mean, we're doing a version of that with respect to community solar, making sure that people who don't live in places that have roofs to call their own, maybe they live in apartment buildings, or maybe they simply don't have the space or the positioning to be able to benefit from solar, but there can be a community solar array that they can buy into or essentially subscribe to be able to offset their bills. So that's awesome. You, of course, we all know that beer and bread taste better with solar. But what's different about bread alone than regular bread?
So in addition to our sustainability commitment, Bread Alone bakes using traditional methods of sourdough fermentation. And we also bake with grain that is both grown and milled in the region.
So when you say it was fermented, this is me, I am such a lousy cook, but fermenting overnight sounds like it takes longer than like a speedo fermentation process, which you might
much
find.
Longer. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's great. And Maine beer, you guys like worked on your specific recipe till you had it right. Like you didn't start out by producing a whole bunch, from what I'm told. Say a little bit about that.
You've done your homework. Yes, I started as a home brewer, and my brother and I would stay up at night in my garage and brew this one particular recipe over and over. At the time, I didn't know we were going to actually start a brewery, but maybe it's just the way that I
kept drinking it until you got it right.
That's right. And so when we first came out, we came out with one brand, and it was our first brand for the first couple of years that we were in existence. But it really goes back to our philosophy of quality. I really wanted to perfect one thing at a time. I didn't want to spread myself too thin and create a bunch of mediocre products. I wanted to create one really, really good product and then move on to the next. Yeah. So that's kind of that's really our commitment to quality is really kind of stems from that sort of philosophy.
So all of that, means that you have to really pay attention to detail. And when you get into this solar space or, sustainability space, sometimes there are a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. And I'm wondering, maybe I'll start with you, Nels. Like, I'm sure you've had to overcome challenges when you started your new facility. And for those who are out there, like, what are the lessons that you would tell other small businesses do or not do as you embark upon this?
Yep. So I think it sounds like Dan and I might have used some of the same programs that are available from the government. We also applied for a USDA REAP grant to help support this recent solar project. And there are administrative challenges to work through in getting through that process. So I encourage small business owners to, one, be aware that those programs are there to take advantage of, but it takes some work to get through them.
Time, and I mean, these are good lessons for us too. I would love to be able to slash through the bureaucracy to allow things to happen much more quickly, just because I'm so impatient. But I'm wondering, it was time as well as paperwork that was a challenge?
Yep, and even just awareness of the program. I can see Dan nodding his head. It sounds like you have a similar experience.
Very, very similar. One, very few people in Maine knew that the program existed. And it just so turns out that the local, affiliate up here, USDA affiliate up here, was sitting on money that no one was taking. No one knew that it was there. We're like, holy smokes. And interesting story for us, a challenge for us is because it's a rural grant, the USDA defines where those boundaries exist within a given state. It just so happened that our brewery, the line bisected our brewery, went right through the middle. The USDA didn't know what to do. Were we in it or were we not in it? And so it took us a few months, and with the help of our friendly congressional delegation here, to work with the USA to actually expand the rural area to include not only ourselves but many other small businesses in Maine. But as you can see, if you're just a small mom and pop, you're just so focused on getting done what you need to do that day. Dealing with this kind of stuff, it takes time, and it's frustrating. So I think they've probably learned some lessons, and my hope is that businesses applying today are having an easier time. But yeah, there's certainly challenges, no doubt.
Such a really great point. I mean, I know, for example, the guy who's head of the USDA, Tom Vilsack, he is all about using the existing authorities, but in a much more rapid way. So I hope that some of those barriers, or at least the ability to access, is easier for folks who are learning about this. And of course, the Small Business Administration also has help that's available for people. But so that's been a challenge for you, although an opportunity, obviously, if you got the funding. But I'm wondering what other advice you would have for small businesses trying to do the same thing, maybe on the positive side or on the challenging side, either way, about what you would say to them as they're contemplating moving in the direction of sustainability. Either one of you.
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. I often run across small business owners who think that they're too small to matter. That what can I do? Why does it really matter if I'm so small? But my belief is that if we wait just for the largest of the large corporations to drive change, it's going to be too late. It starts with all of us, and you don't have to do what I did or even what Nels did. You don't have to. If you can't afford a big solar array, that's okay. Do what you can do, and one day you will be able to do what we have done. But think big, and don't, I guess be optimistic, not pessimistic about the kind of impact that you can have.
Love it. Nels?
I also love that message, and this isn't scripted, but usually the advice that I given this situation is really similar to what Dan just said. I usually say to affect change at the highest level you can. And as a growing business, that will change. So in the very early days as a small business, that might be a very simple act like retrofitting LED fixtures into your business. You gain some experience and knowledge in going through that retrofit, and you become, the idea of doing a larger project doesn't seem so unapproachable anymore. So then maybe it's next upgrading HVAC systems. Then after that, you're ready to take on a solar project. So if along the way you affect change at the highest level you can, you will make continual progress. And that's the story of Bread Alone. That's how we got to the level of sustainability work that we're at right now.
And do you, how many employees do you have, Nels?
Bread Alone, we're about 230 right now.
You're getting up there in terms of the size. How do
Takes a village.
Yes, right. And how does the village feel about this mission?
I think it's one of our strongest tools in attracting and retaining a team. People want to do, in my experience, people want to do purpose-driven work. And a big part of satisfaction in the workplace is contributing to a cause that's a little bit greater than yourself. At Bread Alone, there are a few causes, but the biggest one is sustainability. So I think it really helps us attract and retain great people and add purpose to the hard work that we're doing every day.
It just makes me so happy to hear this, because we are, what is it beyond self? And I totally agree, particularly this next generation, they are all about purpose. What about you, Dan? How have you been able to use this message, perhaps of sustainability, as a way to retain employees? And how big are you guys?
We're about 100 employees, depending on the season up here in Maine. It's a very seasonal economy, as everyone who visited here knows. But I would echo almost verbatim what Nels said. The demographic of our team is definitely of the millennial and younger generation, and they are seeking out of their work more than just a paycheck. They want to work for a company that aligns with their values. I think it has benefited us immensely. We have incredibly great retention, very low turnover. Anybody that comes into our tasting room, I think that the pride that our employees take in their work is reflected on their face, the way that they interact with our customers, not just in our tasting room, but also out in the field where we're selling beer. So again, this is I think, all back to Nels' point originally, that doing well is also good for business. Customers appreciate it. Your employees appreciate it. And it all, inures to the bottom line. It makes you a better and more prosperous company. You don't have to squeeze and externalize everything to become profitable. It just, I think our two companies have shown that.
I love it. I love it. And just to get back to this sustainability question, I mean, the Department of Energy, we've got 17 national labs. We're all about next generation technologies. We didn't really, besides talking about solar, get into the technologies that either you think are worth replicating either inside your business or that you have your eye on potentially for a new investment, or what technology excites you. So let me go back to you, Nels. What excites you about either technology you're using or next generation technology to keep the sustainability motion going?
So our focus right now in the business is clean electrification. So working to electrify all the different activities in the business, and like in the brewery, we're a power hungry business. Traditionally, bread is baked using propane or natural gas. Part of what we did with our new net zero facility is electrified everything in that structure. There's no fossil fuel run to the building whatsoever. So first by electrifying, and then putting enough on-site solar to generate power for all those electric appliances, that's how we achieved our net zero status. So there's a lot more work that we can do right there. And looking out ahead, battery technology has a bit more, there's a bit more progress that needs to take place before it's applicable in a light manufacturing environment like Dan and I have. But I'm excited for that to take hold, and I know it will in the coming years.
Yeah, we are pushing forward, and I'm going to get to you on the same question, Dan, but just because I'm so excited about it, we have a series of technology earth shots, we call them, and one of them is on long duration energy storage to reduce the cost by 90% within the next few years, by 2030. We're super excited because the labs are all about working on that. And Dan, tell me what you're excited about.
One technology specific to brewing is really carbon recapture. A byproduct of the fermentation process is carbon dioxide. Right now, for a small manufacturing facility, a small brewing, the technology is a little bit cost prohibitive to install devices that can actually take the carbon, instead of emitting it, take it, clean it, package it. And everybody knows when they drink beer, it's carbonated. We could use that same carbon dioxide that's a byproduct of the fermentation process and put it right back into our beer to carbonate it. Right now, the technology is not quite there. It's a little bit too expensive for small manufacturers to use, but how awesome would that be if it's a
wait. Are you talking about like capturing carbon from the atmosphere and putting it into No,
right from our beer. So
from the beer itself.
Yes, the yeast, the fermentation process. I'm not going to get too geeky here.
Love it.
Yeast.
It's to recycle it.
Yes, recycling. Yeast eat the sugar and create alcohol and carbon dioxide. That's the byproduct. Carbon dioxide we let escape from the fermentation tank so it doesn't explode, but it just goes into the atmosphere. Well, how great would it be if you could just take all that carbon dioxide, clean it up a little bit, and then use it to help carbonate and package your beer?
I love it. A sort of micro carbon capture and sequestration effort from beer. Oh my gosh. So much going on. You guys are awesome. I so appreciate your willingness to come on and sort of share what your experience has been, particularly for those who might be looking at starting a business and maybe afraid of some of the upfront costs of technology to be able to reduce our CO2 footprint. Of course, solar and wind are now becoming the cheapest forms of energy overall. It's just a question of the capital investment of getting it on the roof. And so we want to make sure that people know that there's help out there, that it is accessible, and that ultimately it renounces to the benefit of the bottom line and certainly of the community who are supporting it. So thank you so much. This conversation has been sweet. And I'm very, very grateful to both of you, your businesses. I'm inspired by what you guys have said. And for those of you who are watching, I hope you keep an eye for more conversations to come. So thanks, everybody.